So I'm mad at how unjust that feels, but then also everything else. And I think I'm struggling with finding a healthy way to deal with that anger. You know?
Yeah. And it's hard to, I feel like you're pinning it down, like exactly what it is, though, is like, you're mad at how unfair it is. You're mad at like losing your peace. Like you finally found a peace and then it was like taken away from you. And I feel like, I feel like that's a very prominent experience for trans people right now. And it's, you know, it's not like things have been super peaceful, amazing, obviously, like under the Biden administration, like, it's not like those were like the good old days, but like things have taken such a dark turn.
Back when America was great in 2024.
I know. Don't you remember that? I really feel that. I feel in a weird way, like pretty, like I've been able to like equip myself for this, and like I've been pretty prepared for this because I've been a trans journalist and like a trans writer for like 6 years now, and working in Boise, both in my current job and previous jobs. And so I had to learn the really hard way as a college student, working multiple jobs and being in college, how to separate myself from my work and how to separate myself from like the state of politics. And I'm not saying that I know how to do it like very well, but it took like years of depression and wondering if this is like what I wanted to be doing with my life to get to a point where I actually feel, I think that I've accepted now that part of my responsibility to my community is resting and taking time away, is that we are very unpracticed as a society in responsibilities and living for responsibilities versus living for your rights. And especially as white people, I think that like Western people, that's like such a difficult narrative to wrap our minds around. But like part of your responsibility to your community is learning how to rest and how to like take time away. And like that, I feel like a lot of trans people right now are learning that actually that needs to be the top of the list. Like that actually has to be the number one priority.
Yeah. And it often takes us, like for me, it often takes me to where I have to, like I have no other choice.
You just run
for me to get to that point. And it's just like, definitely. Yeah. It's like, I've really worked really hard to try not to judge myself. When I find myself in different states that don't always feel good. Because sometimes I want to like judge it. And part of it, sometimes things don't always feel good. Like sometimes doing well and like progress doesn't feel good. And I think sometimes it feels like if something is really hard or I'm really challenged or I maybe even feeling angry or depressed about something, that somehow it's like wrong.
Right.
And I think that's like when I was younger, I think that's something I really took up and thought like as a belief of mine. So I think it really kept me from growing in ways and really seeing my progress. And I think very easily judging myself.
And actually anger is progress. Like being able to feel your anger and actually process that.
Agreed.
That is like no joke. And that's something I struggle with too, is like I have a lot of anger and I'm learning how to process that. I'm learning that it's not something I can do alone. That's something that I have to like call in the troops for. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the other thing is like figuring out when my rest and like recuperation time is not me sequestering myself and being like alone, but actually like calling a friend, whether it's literally just a call or calling a family member or just being like, hey, will you make me dinner today? You know, and like really leaning on support system. Like that's been a big learning curve.
And that's what really got me out of that slump was having some conversations, like some really long conversations with some friends I haven't seen in a while. I feel like that really began to kind of pull me out of that in a way that felt good.
See, I struggle with that a lot. Like and I'm sure there are a lot of people that listen to this that can maybe relate to that. I don't like having to rely on people for anything. And I think I struggle with that in particular because like I have my partner, I have like my family, but outside of that, I don't like to have to rely on other people. And I've been finding that I do feel better when I'm out with people in the community and it helps me break out of myself because I know even when I'm around people and we're not really talking about anything, I'm still ruminating in my mind. I'm still mad about these things. and then I'll have a conversation and I'm like, okay, I'm actually just kind of exaggerating things in my mind.
Yep.
And it helps to get it out because I am just so mad,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just festering inside of me. And I have like autoimmune disorders, and it just makes me physically ill.
Right.
You
Your
know,
body's just
it's like, cut that shit out. But it's hard.
It is hard. Yeah.
And I think I think we do well when we can actually really look around and see, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, how like maybe you don't know a trans person did this for you in your life. I think for me, I've often felt alone, or that like I'm fighting all by myself, or people don't get me, or people can't show up for me. And the truth is they've always been around me and they've always been with me, but I haven't always had that awareness of it. So I've really been trying to be really mindful. And it's like, I can list some friends, I can list some chosen family. I can like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that like, I don't do shit by myself.
Exactly.
For realties.
That's two things that what you said made me think like along the same line is some like tough love that I've had to give myself and that I've like received from other people, and just like messages that I've received is like, just around the idea that, you know, pursuing the idea of doing things by yourself, or like not having to rely on yourself, you're chasing a fiction. Like you already do rely on other people. Right. Like we live in a capitalist economy. We literally rely on the labor of other people to get our fucking groceries, to have clothes on our bodies. Like, you know, we already rely on people in that way, but also, we rely on people day to day. And like, that's a tough pill to swallow. Just to be like, you already do rely on people. And so it's like, you don't have a choice actually. Like you have to rely on people. But how beautiful that you get to choose who you rely on more and like actually be selective about
and it's so easy to create that distance between that connection of like, because we don't hang out with the person who made our coffee necessarily, or even made the coffee that went to the barista that then made